and maybe the Soviet will demonstrate action throughout that match, and that will be tomorrow afternoon, I guess, Fred.
Tomorrow at 1.
Tomorrow at 1. So any of our viewers out there will want to come down and see that one.
Well, that's probably going to be the highlight of the whole competition.
That match, although it's tomorrow, Fred, that's going to decide who's the champion at this World Cup.
Canada meets the Soviet Union Saturday afternoon, but by that time it may be
already decided.
Accompli. Now it's interesting that the Soviet wrestler out there now, and the 100 plus, seems smaller than the wrestler we just saw.
That's right.
Smaller than Kabalov. Nikolai Ivanov is the Soviet wrestler on the mat now. Saruta Mitsuru, the Japanese wrestler.
I might have had, Fred, that the Soviets or the Japanese in their 9 matches so far have only managed to score 9 points on the Soviets, and most of the Soviet matches have been won by grand superiority. 12-0, 13-2, 12-0, 12-0, 12-0. The best match we've seen, of course, was at 57 kilo, where the Japanese wrestler defeated the Soviet wrestler 4-3.
Yes, that was by far the most exciting. I think maybe the last match we saw was maybe the most impressive, though, in terms of the absolute superiority of one athlete.
That's right, Fred. Power demonstrated there, the complete control demonstrated by Kabalov. But again, he's a world senior champion, and I guess that's to be expected.
3 points for the Japanese wrestler, or 2? 2 the judges signify. And now another one for the Soviets, so this match is tied at 2-2.
The Japanese wrestler went for a leg attack after the Soviet wrestler missed on a foot sweep. Now the Soviet wrestler in on the legs and takes his opponent down for 1 point.
Interesting, looking at the Soviet delegation, besides their 10 wrestlers, they have 3 coaches, 2 officials, 2 delegates, and 2 referees.
That's right. The Soviets have the largest contingent here. I guess a lot of government officials sort of thing. Whenever the Soviet athletes travel, they tend to have more people, almost 1 person for every athlete. I guess with Soviet athletes and whatever known to defect. Standard policy. I think one of the main reasons that the Soviets are not going to Los Angeles, or that's being speculated as well anyway.
3-2 now for the USSR wrestler, and the first round is over. So, quite an even competition compared to the last match we saw.
Yes, it is. Surprising, actually, in this Soviet, but he's not that big. This particular Soviet, he looks sort of younger. He's not as big, not as powerful as the 220.
He's not the imposing figure that Kabalov was. He's not nearly as tall. He doesn't look to be as heavy, but he could be. In fact, undoubtedly he is.
He has to be, at least to wrestle heavyweight, you have to be over 220 pounds. So the less he could be would be 221 pounds. But I would say more than that. I might add today when Japan went against the United States, the American at heavyweight pinned the
Japanese heavyweight. That's right. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see those two wrestlers go at each other tomorrow. This is the final bout in the matchup between Soviet Union and Japan. Following this, it'll be Canada and Australia. Quick point by the Soviet wrestler. Canadian wrestling team filing out in front of us now to get ready for their matchup with Australia. 2 points. 6-2.
So the wrestler attempted a leg attack there, countered by the Japanese wrestler, but he continues on through and scores 1 point. Coming out behind in control. Score now 7-2. Soviet wrestler attempting an Olympic lift. He reaches in through the leg and he's trying to apply pressure across the small part of his opponent back to bring him over through the air and onto his back.
1 minute and 40 now remaining in this bout. Soviet wrestler gradually building up a lead that it's beginning to look insurmountable. 7-2.
Japanese wrestler now is hooking underneath the Soviet wrestler, going for a throw. But the Soviet attempted a throw there but slipped off, and the referee decides it was a missed throw to stand him up, even though the Soviet reacted very quickly and went back for a second attack on his opponent. Now the Japanese wrestlers are on the attack, but Soviet counters again, steps over him, scored that point again. Now 8-2.
This Soviet wrestler is the European junior champ.
Yes, he's one of the few on the Soviet team that's not a world junior champion. The others have been the 48 kilo, 62, and 68. So they only have 4 that are not world junior champions or have been at one time or another.
"35 seconds.
Because of the Olympic boycott, Fred, the Soviet team that's here is the strongest possible junior team that they have.
And one of the few Soviet teams of any description I guess we're going to see in North America this year.
I guess it's the only one, Fred, the only Soviet team that will be in North America this year.
Other than their hockey team for the Canada Cup.
That's right.
Nine to 2 and 5 seconds left. This has been, there's the towel, and it's all over. So the Soviets, not quite a sweep, but 9 bouts to 1. And Japanese managed to save some face with that one victory.
That's right. It was a good victory. They had another close match at 68 kilos. The Soviet won that one 2-0. So the Japanese were in there.
There was some good wrestling.
Now, earlier today, when the Japanese wrestled the United States, they managed to win 2 matches. So when the Soviets and the Americans meet tomorrow,